But that was only the beginning. In the days that followed, something inside me shifted. It was no longer just a sweet parenthesis, but a deeper hunger, a thirst to exist differently. Every message from Mark, every glance from Leo, every memory Julian brought back became a spark. I didn't yet know how far it would take me. The story continues very soon. Get ready to dive into a whirlwind of emotions, doubt, and temptation. And if you want to be there when everything turns upside down, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Music, because sometimes it's not the gestures, but the silences that betray us. I hadn't planned anything when my husband left for a business retreat in Marseilles. I just wanted a peaceful evening, a good book, and a warm cup of tea. But that night, everything changed. It was an October afternoon. The sky was low, heavy with golden clouds. Almost mystical rain drew silent lines down the windows. The kids were at their ends for the weekend. The house was quiet too. Quiet. I wrapped myself in a soft cardigan, sitting by the window, a warm mug between my hands, when my phone buzzed. A message from Mark. We're nearby, want some company. He was with Julian and Leo, old university friends of my husband. I wasn't really in the mood to talk, but I said yes. I thought a few smiles might do me good. They arrived with pastries and a bouquet of wildflowers. The air was like complicit. We settled in the living room. I served white wine, some cheeses, and fresh fruit. It started as just a friendly visit, but very quickly I felt something shift. The way they looked at me, listened to my words, laughed at my anecdotes. I didn't feel invisible anymore. I felt like a woman. Mark spoke of his travels. Julian shared a funny work story, and Leo asked about my passions. What truly made me feel alive, it wasn't overt seduction. It was worse. It was sincere attention, a slow burning warmth. And I let myself play along. Nothing physical happened that evening, but something awakened in me, a shiver I hadn't felt in years. A door I left slightly ajar, and I knew from that moment on I wouldn't be able to close it so easily. The next morning I woke up with their voices still lingering in the air. The house was silent, but inside me everything buzzed. Mark's message came before I even finished my coffee. Thank you for last night. You were radiant. A chill ran down my spine. That wasn't nothing. Around noon, Leo invited me for a walk through the old quarter. I hesitated, but I said yes. He waited for me by the fountain with a calm, assured smile. We walked slowly in rhythm, no rush. He spoke of books, art projects. Then suddenly he asked, and you, what do you really want? Deep down, that question froze me. No one had asked me like that in years. I didn't know how to answer. He looked into my eyes for a long moment, then said, you should think about it. You deserve to. That night I wrote a full page in my journal, things I had never dared to put into words, desires, regrets, hidden curiosities. Julian sent me a playlist he listened to while thinking about our evening. One song in particular spoke of silent longing. It hit me hard. Over the next few days the messages became more frequent, sometimes just as simple, are you still awake? Late at night. Other times a photo, a line from a book. None of them crossed the line, but all of them came close. Friday night, Mark suggested dinner, just the four of us, like last time. I set a simple table, lit a few candles, opened a good bottle of wine. But the moment they walked in, I knew the balance had shifted. The way we looked at each other moved. It was heavier, charged. After dinner, Leo played some music. Their atmosphere softened. Mark offered his hand to dance. It wasn't a waltz, not as slow. It was something else, a language of bodies. Julian watched silently, wine in hand, a faint smile on his lips. There was no jealousy, just a shared tension. That night after they left, I leaned against the door, heart pounding. I hadn't done anything unforgivable, but I was just a breath away from crossing an invisible line, and I wasn't sure if I was afraid or if I wanted it. That tension stayed with me. Saturday morning, I found myself thinking of their faces. As soon as I opened my eyes, my husband wouldn't be back for 2 more days. And that time, instead of being calm, had become dangerous and delicious. I got ready slowly, as if every gesture mattered. I picked a cream-colored dress, simple but soft on my skin, and I caught myself wanting to feel desirable, not for them, not even for him, but for me. That afternoon, Julian invited me to his favorite bookshop cafe. The place was cozy, old wood shelves, the scent of paper and fresh coffee. He spoke of photography, light framing. He said some silhouettes told stories without needing words, then added, like you. That night you didn't need to say anything. It was all already there. I didn't know what to reply. My cheeks flushed, but inside I felt something unfamiliar, pride. I sipped my tea, burning hot, and I wanted to kiss him, not out of love, but out of the Made to feel seen, we walked to a quiet park. There he stopped, looked at me. You know that if you cross this line, nothing will ever be the same again, right? I nodded, but said nothing. Neither of us moved. Everything was in our eyes. Then he smiled softly and touched my hand gently before walking me home. The next day, Mark texted he wanted me to join him for brunch in a small apartment he rented sometimes. To work, he said. He had something to show me, a painting unfinished. I hesitated, but I went. The space was bright, soaked in sun. In the center, a huge canvas. It was a female silhouette, blurry, almost moving. He said, "This is what I see when I think of you, something untouchable, but magnetic." I approached, moved. I turned to him. He stood close. He didn't reach out, but I felt his breath, and I knew we were standing on the edge of something sweet, irreversible. We ate in silence, toast, honey, fresh cheese. Everything felt strangely simple. After the meal, he asked if I wanted to paint something. I nodded. I dipped the brush in deep red and drew one horizontal line on a blank canvas, then one vertical. I stopped. Mark smiled. "It's a start," and I thought maybe it was the start of something else. Outside, the crisp autumn air brushed my cheeks. I walked slowly to full of thoughts to think. I no longer knew who I'd become in the past few days, but I knew I didn't want to go back. Part 2 is coming soon, and trust me, nothing will ever be the same again. Leave a like, subscribe, and get ready to feel every heartbeat, every glance, every silence, as if they were your own.